Aucklanders are terrified in their own homes in some suburbs thanks to a spate of shootings allegedly linked to a gang turf war. Just this Saturday night, a property in Manurewa was sprayed with bullets and a home in Papatoetoe was also the subject of arson. What can be done? To discuss, I'm joined by Auckland Mayor Phil Goff and University of Canterbury sociologist and researcher Dr. Jared Gilbert. Thank you both very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
Mayor Goff, is Auckland City safe?
It's by and large safe, but it's not safe when you've got marauding gangs of killer bees and headhunters firing pot shots at each other. Most New Zealanders probably don't worry so much about gang members firing shots at each other. They do worry a lot about people that will be caught in the crossfire. And frankly, because of this reckless, stupid and cowardly behaviour, it's actually a miracle that we haven't seen kids killed. We have in the past. We don't want to see it in the future. That's why the police are doing exactly the right thing in clamping down on this sort of inter-gang rivalry, which is about status, it's about patch protection, it's about money. They need to do that. Longer term, we've also got to do a whole lot of things to try to stop the gangs being attractive to kids that come from vulnerable, sometimes abusive backgrounds that see the gang as part of the family. So we've got to tackle it on those two fronts.
So, Jared, what we are seeing is a real crackdown in Operation Cobalt. And it's a move away, I guess, from a plan that had been in place to trial, which was the resilience in organised crime, kind of looking at those factors that drive this. In your experience and your research, what is the best approach?
The resilience to organised crime that the police are leading is still going. And I think that's actually really important because that is attempting to get to the root cause of problems. Cobalt, which is just about to start up, is more active and attempting to quash the very acute problems like this gun violence Phil is talking about. So I actually really like that because I don't think we have to talk about a preventative approach and an active policing approach on the ground as being an or. We should see it as an and. We can do both of these things at once because one's a short-term solution, very important right now. The other's a longer-term solution which will assist moving into the future. So I think that's incredibly good.
In the meantime, Mayor Goff, what about those people in those streets? Because it is a spray of bullets. And as you say, someone eventually is going to get caught in the crossfire. Does the council know where gang pads are across the city?
Oh, the police know for certain, and the police are right to target those gangs that are involved with these drive-by shootings at the present time. Look, there was one house, I think, last week where they found 44 cartridge shells outside. That's like a machine gun spray into those houses. That's why I say it's an absolute miracle that we haven't seen kids killed because there are kids living in those houses. And sometimes the gangs are not that smart. They get the house wrong and they're shooting at innocent people. So, you know, look, I know because I'm almost on a weekly basis communicating with the police that they are pouring the resources into this. They're taking it incredibly seriously, not only to stop deaths, but also to stop the sense that there's no rule of law here. These gangs are challenging the rule of law. They're saying we're above the law. We can go out, we can behave like gangsters. This can be like the Wild West. We can do what we like. It's really important that that doesn't happen. And the other thing that the police are doing really well is the confiscation of assets of crime. What attracts people to gangs? Well, a number of things. One of them is status. Increasingly, it's money with drug trafficking. Sometimes it's, kind of a whānau support there. But if you take away the proceeds of crime, so these guys aren't riding around on their gold-plated Harleys and driving their Lamborghinis, the best way to get at those organised criminal gangs is to take away their assets and confiscate their firearms. And the police have done a whole lot of both of those things. Just
to go back to your point, though, that police know where these gang pads are and the children are being put at risk, do you want the police to go into neighbourhoods and say, you are living on a street where there is a gang pad and this is what you can do to keep yourself safe and we're going to let you know?
I think the people living in those streets are pretty aware of the presence of the gangs.
Yeah. Are they? Because there's someone has written into the show today saying be careful what you wish for, because in very affluent suburbs who don't realise as well that there are gang pads there.
Oh, look, yeah, okay, I'm generalising, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of gang pads around that have been there for a very long time. I know where they are, and the people in the street knows where they are. They kind of live alongside each other, and normally, there's not trouble. But when this sort of thing breaks out, then that puts the whole street at risk. And there are streets that I've visited with the police in Otara and in the south where we've had these drive-by shootings for quite a long time, and it is indiscriminate the way they fire at the houses. It doesn't take a lot of courage to fire a weapon into a house where there aren't people firing back at you. And the police really need to make life as hard as possible for the gangs that are engaging in that behaviour to send the message to them that this is absolutely unacceptable.
Jared, just to bring you back in there, in terms of where these gang pads are, is it changing? Have these been long-established pads?
Well, there certainly are long-established pads, but I think we need to distinguish that all of the bullets that are being the bullets that are being fired now aren't necessarily going into gang pads per se. They're going into homes where gang members live, and that is slightly different. So the gang pad is a communal home or property that the gang will come and have meetings in and party and the like. These are private homes, and Mayor Goff is quite right to point out that the risks, therefore, when you go to private homes, and it used to be, and it was often broken, but certainly not as broken as it is now, that used to be a rule that you didn't hit private homes and you didn't hit places of work. Those rules are clearly out the window. And particularly in this instance, just goes to show how serious this tit-for-tat violence between these two groups has become, and what is required, and again, as Mr. Mayor is saying, and I think we all know it, is a fire break that's put in just to stop that escalation, because if you can put a fire break in there, it just allows the membership and the wiser heads within those gangs to go, hey, come on, this is getting out of hand, and pull it back. That's short term, of course, but it's very necessary, and it's going to require strong policing of those two groups.
Auckland Mayor Phil Goff and researcher and sociologist from the University of Canterbury, Dr. Jared Gilbert. Really appreciate your time, both of you, for this morning. Thanks very much.